The reasons why every former component nation of Biafra should pursue their path to self-determination. When discussing the quest for self-determination among the former component nations of Biafra, it is essential to address the historical context and the aspirations of the people involved. The term Biafra is an adopted name for the former component units of the old eastern region in Nigeria that sought to secede between 1967 and 1970. The former component nations of Biafra, such as the Igbo, Ijaw, Efik, Agoni, and others, have distinct cultural identities, languages, and historical experiences. Each of these groups has unique aspirations and perspectives, which should be respected and acknowledged. The pursuit of self-determination should be a voluntary choice made by the people concerned. If some former component nations are not interested in restoring Biafra as it existed in the past, it would be inappropriate to impose such a vision on them. The right to self-determination entails respecting the individual choices and aspirations of each group. Restoring Biafra as it existed in the past with the current developments poses significant hurdle due to the changed geopolitical landscape and the divergent interests of the component nations, and therefore unrealistic in its 1967 to 1970 form and shape unless all the former component units are together in agreement. Attempting to recreate the Biafra of 1967 to 1970 without the unanimous support and participation of all former component nations could lead to divisions and further conflict. It is important to acknowledge and adapt to the current realities and find workable solutions. The ready solution is for every component nation of Biafra to go about their separate quest for self-determination in their own rights and at their own pace.
Members of Abunema community for Akukutoru local government area for Rivers State don't call on the federal government to come rebuild the Abunema seaport. The community people talk this one for one yearly remembrance of what them they call Go to Niger, the day where Niger troops free the community people from Biafra soldiers' invasion. They come talk say the area na economic hub where people will not be Nigerians, they come in and out to do business, but that not be so again since the seaport don yakpa after the Civil War.
We had suffered untold hardship. There was no food, we were starving, we were eating all sorts, anything we could see. In those days, if you come here, you will see at least 11 ships lined up from here to Degema. They have come to collect goods and all sorts of things to take to Europe. Some of our people traveled to London, to Liverpool from Abunima here. But all that is gone. Abunima does not have any seaport anymore. So we call on the federal government to come to our aid because our source of income, our source of commerce has been blocked by oil activities.
If you begin to imagine what they faced that time, I think what we're doing is not enough. We need to pay more tribute to those that protected this land. This place used to be an economic hub back in the days. So we played with the federal government that this Abunima seaport should be revamped. By my knowledge, that was the reason why the Biafran president took here. Because of course, you know the importance of seaport during the war. All of us can agree that why we even ceded Bakassi is because Nigerian government went into a treaty agreement with them to stop them from bringing their arms and ammunition plus food so that we'll be able to win them in the war. So when they came here, our people are not cooperating. That was why they were ready to, they were doing what they were doing to sack us so that they can take this place. There's nothing you do that will be commensurate to life. What I want to ask the federal government to do is because of those who are fallen heroes, those who that paid the supreme price, fighting alongside the Nigerian army that protected this town. Because of them, they should resuscitate the Abunima seaports.
It's a day they don't forget. It's an annual ritual. We celebrate our fallen heroes who stood and defended the town during the attack from the Biafrans. The lesson should be that at any point in time, you should be able to sacrifice for the interests of your people.
Like a land, so we used to have a seaport in Abunima here. And if it's possible that they can revamp it or bring it back, approve a new seaport for us, that would be very good for us.
From Rivers State, A. Carter, Ojisili.
While there is a geographical area associated with the 1967 to 70 Biafra, the specific boundaries and extent of a potential modern-day Biafra would need to be agreed upon by all relevant parties. Disputes over territorial boundaries can complicate the establishment of an independent state. In summary, although the former component nations of Biafra, such as the Igbo-dominated areas, may have a desire for greater autonomy or even independence, but if these component nations are not willing to come together and jointly pursue the restoration of Biafra as it existed during the 1967 to 1970 conflict, it could potentially hinder the realization of Biafra as a separate state, and that is what is happening today. The criterion of a permanent population typically implies a stable and sizable population residing within a defined territory. If there is significant fragmentation or lack of consensus among the component nations, it may be challenging to establish a unified and cohesive population to support the claim for statehood. Similarly, the criterion of an effective government implies the ability to govern a territory and provide essential services and infrastructure to the population. The lack of cooperation among the component nations could hinder the establishment of a unified and effective government for Biafra. Considering these factors, it becomes evident that the pursuit of self-determination currently should be seen as an opportunity for each former component nations to chart its own course toward political autonomy and economic development. By pursuing their aspirations individually, these nations can focus on addressing the specific needs and concerns of their respective communities. It enables each group to develop its own governance structures, policies, and strategies tailored to their unique circumstances. Embracing this reality does not diminish the historical significance or the shared experiences of the former component nations of Biafra. Rather, it acknowledges the diverse perspectives and aspirations within the region, fostering an environment of inclusivity and respect for each group's right to self-determination. Finally, recognizing the distinct identities and aspirations of the former component nations of Biafra is essential. The pursuit of self-determination should be an individual choice, respecting the historical context and the specific needs of each group. By embracing the reality of separate quests for self-determination, the region can foster inclusivity, respect, and a more sustainable future for all its people. Uche Mefa writes as the convener of the Igbo Biafra Nationalist and the indigenous people of Igbo Nation for Self-Determination.